Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending upon where you are, and we're delighted to have everyone online. We have over 200 people that have signed up for this webinar, so it's obviously filling some kind of void or answering questions that you have. This is Lauren Hansen. I'm CEO of Iris and also the CMLS president this year. And as a heads up to all, we are recording this session so that it will be made available on our website afterwards for those who either want to review or were not able to attend. I'd like to start with the introduction of the panel individuals that you see on the screen. Steve, why don't you lead off? We'll just go from left to right and introduce who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Lauren. This is Steve Barnes. I'm a co-founder at Homesnap, and as many of you know, and certainly we'll find out shortly, we are the partner for the Broker Public Portal, and looking forward to providing a lot of information today so that the people on this call can make informed decisions about how they want to perhaps work with the BPP.
And Stephanie?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephanie Hill. I'm the MLS Executive Director at the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors and also a member of the CMLS Board of Directors. I'm on this call today as GLDR is in the vetting process and discovery process of learning more about and considering the Broker Public Portal.
Perfect. And Merle?
I'm Merle Whitehead. I'm the chairman of board of Howard Hanna of New York. I'm also the chairman of the Broker Public Portal project. And also in 2018, I will be the NAR liaison between the National Association of Realtors and the Multiple Listing Services and Data Strategies Group.
Quite the esteemed group. Thank you all for being here. And I think where we're going to start is to get everybody on the same page, do a quick history of why BPP, why was it formed, where did it come from, and just a little bit of background so that we all have the same foundation. And I think Merle and Steve are going to be the primaries with this. Take it away.
Good. Well, this is Merle Whitehead. The vision for the Broker Public Portal started probably 2.5 or 3 years ago. And most of you know that when the National Association of Realtors sold Realtor.com, first to Move and then to the Rupert Murdoch team, one of the restrictive covenants they committed to was an evergreen non-compete, meaning that the National Association of Realtors would never have a public-facing website to display real estate. And I'm a real NAR supporter, but when I think of strategies, I don't want to be part of a 1.3 member organization that's in the business of selling real estate and not be able to have a public-facing website. So a number of MLS executives and large brokers, small brokers, got together, and we decided there was a huge need to have an industry-owned site, and our motivation was really not to get into the portal business to bang heads with billion-dollar corporations. It was really to create an entity where we could control the business rules. And one of the things that I was experiencing, I owned a large mortgage banking company, and one of the large portals started saying to my sales associates, if you get a loan originator to share the cost, you'll only have to pay 50% of your ad budget. And so we thought, well, it wasn't too bad. They started to put the pinch on my loan originators to cost share ads. But then they subsequently came up with, if you get 3 loan originators, they can pay 90% of the ad and you can pay 10%. But we got concerned. First of all, we didn't like the competition of all those loan originators, but we also saw we had concerns about RESPA violations, and course, we were dealing with a media company, and they didn't have the compliance requirements that we did. So that's when it became very clear to me we really need to control the business rules. And I have to say, I'm amazed at what a wonderfully collaborative event this has been in forming the BPP. So we started by requesting charter members to contribute $5,000 to the BPP, and we formed an LLC. And for governance of the LLC, we put 4 MLS executives on the board, 5 large brokers, 3 mid-sized brokers, 3 small-sized brokers, and 2 independent consultants from the industry. And interesting enough, I was speaking in Chicago last week, and one of the things I've experienced is there really aren't a lot of issues that just relate to large brokers or just relate to mid-sized brokers or small brokers. I think the competition that's trying to change the way the world turns right now are people that aren't even in the room. And I just look at the travel business. Those disruptors didn't talk about putting small agencies out of business or large ones. They just talked about changing the industry. So we put the BPP together, and we made a commitment to subscribe to the Fair Display Guidelines. And any of you aren't familiar with the Fair Display Guidelines, you can find them at fairdisplay.org. But every time I speak to this, where I get the round of applause is when I promise people that on any of your listings, the only that will be featured is the list agent. And the other things that we've made a commitment to is no preferred status for listings. All listings will be displayed equally, and we do not have plans to sell advertising on the site. So the industry has been very supportive of the Fair Display Guidelines. One of the other things that was happening as we were forming the Broker Public Portal is the National Association of Realtors, in their rules, confirmed that an MLS could charge for a public-facing website as part of their basic service. So when we started to decide what this would look like, we thought it would be very beneficial to get cooperation with the multiple listings and to bill this as an MLS cost. And that has gone over very, very well. But then the next thing we did, once we had the portal and our governance group in place, we decided, okay, what do we do for the portal? Do we build one from scratch? Do we buy one? Do we do a joint venture? And we sent out RFPs to the entire real estate industry. And one of the things that was comforting early on was we were getting great feedback about Homesnap, and a lot of MLSs, people that were with the broker portal and some outside the broker portal, was saying, gosh, our agents and members really like the Homesnap product. We hope it doesn't get competitive and we stop competing. And so in May of 2016, we signed a letter of intent with Homesnap, and Steve will attest what work that was. We really had to collaborate with their venture capital partners and make sure we could get a letter of intent. And then we quickly thought we would put together a signed contract. And it took us from May of 2016 till December of 2016 to get a signed contract. But January 1st of this year, we were ready to go. And one of the things that we did is we set up a joint venture with Homesnap, and that is run by a 7-person board. And the board is made up of 3 people from the Broker Public Portal, and that happens to be Alon Chavar, John Mosey, and Craig McClellan. There are 3 folks from Homesnap, and then there is an industry leader that is picked by the Broker Public Portal and approved by Homesnap, and that individual is David Sharon, and David has agreed to be chairperson for that new 7-person board. So that's the background of where we got to where we are, and now I'll flip it over to Steve to give you some of the logistics.
Great. Thanks, Merle. That was a great overview. So I'll pick up where you left off, and which is really the first of this year when the joint venture between Homesnap and Broker Public Portal LLC took off and really started going. And there has been a really significant response, a very large response from the industry since that time. Homesnap is now the BPP brand. They're one and the same. I'll talk in my deck, it's going to come up here in just a couple seconds, about what is at the core of our brand and our relationship with BPP LLC, but it's primarily about governance and control of the data, that the industry now has control of the data. A couple of things I wanted to point out is we have hit a point with participation on the Homesnap BPP platform of just yesterday 700,000 agents. So we're well past the majority of the footprint of the country, and I'll get into that into the deck as well. Shortly here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be launching a new site at homesnap.com. As part of our agreement with BPP LLC, the joint venture calls for the development of a new site at homesnap.com. As many of you know, we're very well known for our native applications, award-winning apps both on Android and for the iPhone. And what we wanted to do was bring our site up to par with those products. So very shortly, you will see across all platforms, the web, the mobile web, and native applications, a real first-rate leading national brand, and the products are super and cutting edge. So this year has been about participation, that the goal of the JV is to not have this national brand develop over a number of years, but to rally the industry within this year, 2017, to get behind the brand. So with that, I want to get into what is it exactly that the industry, and in particular MLSs, because they're the ones who sign up for the Broker Public Portal, what exactly does that mean? Well, much of this has already been touched on in this first slide, but the BPP was conceived, created, and formed within the industry. And one word that's not there is that governance for the industry and controlling the business rules was central. As most of you know, a number of very prominent brands in real estate have built their businesses on the data of the industry, yet the industry doesn't really have a say in the business rules of those properties. That has changed with Homesnap. We have a national search portal, a singular brand that is strictly following fair display guidelines. That simply means that all inquiries about a listing go to the listing agent and the listing broker. There are no competitive agents or anyone else who will get those inquiries. We're the partner, we're the brand, and as it says here, we're just getting started, having launched January 2017. Merle mentioned that we went through a pretty significant vetting process and RFP process. And I think this sums up, among other things, but these are two of the primary reasons why Homesnap was chosen as the brand of the Broker Public Portal. We've worked for years already and invested millions of dollars in building first-class products for both agents and their clients, as well as for consumers. We focused on mobile, but now we're also really focusing on the web. And so we had a head start. So the Broker Public Portal did not have to spend months or even years building a product from scratch, spending millions of dollars doing that. They were able to effectively take all the benefits we have and put them to use for the industry. We had already committed to a path that was industry friendly. And so that made us stand out, I think, above all those other industry vendors that wanted to be the BPP partner. We had already committed to fair display guidelines. We understood them very well and why they were important to brokers and agents. And so that was part of our DNA. So why should you as an MLS join the BPP? The MLS is the entity that signs the contract. There are benefits in the BPP for several entities. Listed here are the benefits for MLSs, brokers, and agents. And I'll go over those quickly in detail, but at the top of this, really above all this, is the consumer. The consumer, because this is MLS data, they're getting the very best, freshest, most accurate data that's available, which has not always been the case as consumers look to other properties that show real estate information. So they're getting the best data, so the consumers are winning, and they're getting access directly to the listing agent and broker. Those are the entities that know most about the property and can answer their question quickly. You'd be amazed how smart consumers are, and when they get the best data and can get the answers to their questions, they support that brand and will come back and tell their friends about it. So first and foremost, though that entity, consumers, will be huge beneficiaries of MLSs joining the BPP. The MLSs themselves get a number of benefits. Of course, they will have a public-facing app and website under the Homesnap brand that is showing their listing data under fair display guidelines. That's what we've been talking about. But also very valuable is the fact that they will get Homesnap Pro for every one of their subscribers. Homesnap Pro is already the leading professional app in the country, and it is, for the agent, an incredible productivity tool and more or less the keys to the MLS. They have what we call MLS superpowers. They can look into their version of Homesnap Pro and see a lot more data, obviously, than the consumers can see on the regular Homesnap product. And they're connected to one another. So when the consumers and clients are using Homesnap, they can communicate very easily to their agents who are using Homesnap Pro. The MLS also will get a dashboard where they can track agent, clients, and consumers' use on the Homesnap BPP platform. And then finally, for Homesnap Pro, there will be a number of premium products, enhancements to the product that we will roll out down the road. And when those happen, the MLSs will be entitled to a revenue share on those products. Brokers get a number of unique and valuable benefits as well. Branding for the broker is free with a very small setup fee, but no ongoing charge for a brokerage to put their branding throughout the Homesnap and Homesnap Pro ecosystem. What that means is that whenever a listing is seen by a consumer, whenever an agent is seen by a consumer, that broker's branding shows up prominently. Something that in other media sites brokers might have to pay for, it's free here. Homesnap Pro is also provided to the brokers and their office managers. There's a dashboard for brokers as well. And very important, at the core again of this initiative, the leads from the listings will go for free exclusively to the broker, listing broker, and listing agent. Agents themselves have a number of benefits. They get Homesnap Pro from the MLS. All subscribers get it for free. They have the ability for free to have a branded version that they can share with their clients. So they can invite an unlimited number of clients who, when they accept the invitation from the agent, will only see their agent in their version of Homesnap and have a collaborative work environment. And again, leads on all listings are sent straight to the listing agent and broker for free. Now, on this last part, let me just quickly say leads. One thing that is lost sometimes when we look at what the benefits of participation in the BPP are, beyond these three that go across the screen here, are the actual value of those leads that are being sent out to brokers and agents. If you look at, for example, the market capitalization, the business value of the large portals, Zillow, Realtor, and even a Redfin, which has a fifth of the traffic of the large portals. those are all multi-billion-dollar valuations. And so while those benefits will be very diffuse because leads are being sent out to listing agents and brokers throughout your marketplaces, collectively there is just going to be an enormous value to that that might not be as easy to quantify as some of those other entities because they're being sent out diffusely, but we will be tracking that, and that is going to be of significant value to all the people that work in your marketplace.
Merle, can I ask you a question? Because you talked about the different ways that usage can be tracked. Just to clarify, if a consumer wants to download the app without an invitation from a broker, they can do so. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, this is Steve. That's
Okay.
absolutely right. There's three buckets for Homesnap, we say. There's the pure independent consumer. Someone on the Today Show hears about the Homesnap product and downloads it. That is a pure independent consumer. They will see your listing, your lead listings, all inquiries go to the listing agent or broker. The second bucket is the agents themselves. They download a unique version of Homesnap Pro, and of course they have those superpowers seeing agent-only data. And the last group are clients that are invited directly by agents. When those clients are invited, they only see their agent. So real quickly, how much does it cost? It's very simple. It's $1 per agent per month to the MLS for all the agents or all the subscribers in their MLS. We think all the benefits on the previous page greatly exceed what the cost of it is, and when you think of it relative to the other portals and what is being created by the industry, this is well worth it. Now, where does that dollar go? Half goes to the joint venture we've talked about, and that industry-controlled board, majority industry, will decide with half that budget, half that dollar, what to do with it, what marketing to do, and what new product development to do on the consumer side. So how can they improve the consumer product, the experience? And then the other half goes to Homesnap to operate and maintain the public portal as well as provide Homesnap Pro to all agents. This is a snapshot, and it actually, there's more MLSs to add here, but here is just a handful of MLSs that have signed up or whose boards have voted to move forward with the BPP just since the joint venture was announced. And as I said, the collective number on the Homesnap BPP platform just hit 700,000 agents yesterday. So well ahead of where we thought we'd be now, and we think that is already a national footprint, but I think you guys know the math of agents in the country. We're really closing in on having a national brand. So getting to the end here of the deck, but why now? Well, the primary reason, for the reasons that Merle stated at the beginning, is the industry is extremely motivated to have a brand that's national, that they control. We have significant momentum, and this is really a meaningful chance to change the way data is being used in the real estate industry. Of the top brands that are out there, the industry currently doesn't have much of a say on the business rules. That's very different with the broker public portal. And I will also add, and I think most people on this call know this, that while MLSs and brokers, many of them or most of them have local public-facing products, it's very hard to compete nationally and get attention with consumers unless you have a national brand. So this is getting everyone rowing in the same direction. It's a real golden opportunity for the industry to all have a brand and, again, row in that same direction. These totals here, we're almost at the 750,000, which was our goal for CMLS, which we're a sponsor of next month. We hope to announce that we've now eclipsed 750,000, and I think we certainly will get there. So this is the final slide, and this just reiterates the basics of this joint venture. Full control of listings and leads for the industry, top-rated products for agents to manage their business, and both a national and local presence. Obviously, and that's the end of the deck, but obviously what we didn't do here is a product demonstration. If anyone is interested in seeing the underlying products, we will be at the CMLS conference in Austin, Texas next month. Come see us there, and we'll be happy to give you a detailed demo. And of course, at the end of this, our contact information will be provided. And if you have any additional questions about the BPP, let us know. Also, you can reach out to us to schedule a demo for you and your staff.
Merle, we have some questions that have come in. Of the 700,000 agents that are signed up, do you have usage stats on that of how many are actually using it as opposed to signed up, as well as consumer downloads and such?
I think it's, we've introduced so many technology products over the years, and what tends to happen, you get that 20 to 25% of the agents that just jump on it and they start using it. Then you've got 75% of the people watching the 25%, and then they start telling success stories. And the 25 starts growing to 30 and 40. I think one thing that Steve can confirm is that the longer an MLS is with the product, the more subscription and the more raving fans they create. So it's kind of a work in progress, but it is truly inertia, and bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. Wouldn't you say, Steve, we're just picking up more momentum? And a good example, some of the ones that Steve mentioned, I was involved in talking to their board of directors. So Emred, talking to Rebecca Jensen, her people are liking it more and more every month.
Yeah, I'm happy to put some more specifics behind that. Using one MLS, and they were our first MLS, MRIS, which is now part of Bright MLS. MRIS, of course, being based in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. They launched with Homesnap over 2 years ago, and over 70% of their subscribers, have downloaded the app. Importantly, this group represents over 85% of the transactions that are done in the market. The average agent that uses Homesnap Pro uses it over 3 times a day, 7 minutes per session, over 20 minutes a day. Those agents, and this will get to, I'm sure, one of the later questions about how we will advertise and promote and get consumers to use this. But those agents in the MRIS footprint have invited close to 3 million consumers to the Homesnap platform. And over 1 million of those consumers have connected with their agent on Homesnap. They're, I think, the poster child for what's possible. Just on a pure consumer basis, we have, close to 4 million, I believe, at this point, unique monthly users already on Homesnap, and we're just now starting to onboard all of these new MLSs, and we have some distinct advantages that other portals do not. So first and foremost, agents, as we demonstrated with the MRI stat, and this is happening in our other markets, agents can very easily invite their clients and contacts to Homesnap, something they would never do. They'd never tell their clients or contacts to go to another portal that doesn't follow fair display guidelines or doesn't just show them. So that's a
right.
Unique.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on because we've got more questions.
Okay.
One is regarding
Lauren.
Yes.
Lauren. This is Stephanie. I had a couple questions for Steve. Steve, as you know, we're right in the process of going over all this, and I had some questions, not only from myself, from my leadership, that I wanted to bring out there, and I hope some of the people on the call today have these same questions. Is there any plans for Homesnap and the BPP to integrate market-specific contacts, you know, from the MLS systems, save searches, that type of thing that traditionally are found in our, you know, apps that we have now for our subscribers? Is there anything down the road for that?
Yes, that's a great question. I'll try to answer these questions more succinctly. So the short answer is, because of the momentum we have and because this has been deemed an important industry initiative, you know, our BPP customers are asking that their MLS systems, whether they be Matrix or Paragon or Flex or any system, and some are proprietary, that we integrate with them. And so we're already starting that. And so, you know, it certainly is something MLSs want for obvious reasons, and we think it's very important that the products are integrated where it makes sense. And those MLS systems have been very responsive, and we're actively working on them. So in the medium term, you will see those integrations be rolled out, so the product will be that much more valuable in your respective marketplaces.
Okay, and to piggyback on that a little, will different showing applications be available on that for a consumer to actually book showings through our showing applications that we have as MLSs?
Absolutely, and several of those are integrations with the larger ones have already happened, and that's a free integration that's part of the product that you get with this. So, you know, whether it's showing time, for example, that's already integrated. You can schedule from the app. Okay,
and I have one other question, Lauren, if you'll allow me. A lot of, Steve, as you probably know, a lot of, over the past few years, a lot of MLSs have gone towards a broker opt-in via syndication channels, whether the broker wants their listings to go to A, B, or C portal. How does that factor in if you're charging $1 a member per month, but let's say only a certain percentage of my MLS wants to opt in and have their listings fed to Homesnap BPP, or is it all or nothing situation? How does that come into to be a factor?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So historically, you know, brokers that have chosen not to participate in syndication, a lot of the reason is because they didn't feel comfortable where the data was going, or that the business rules were not in their favor. What we've seen so far, because of our clear commitment to fair display guidelines, is that very few, certainly prominent brokers, but very few, if any, brokers are electing to opt out at the MLS level of participation of their listings in the broker public portal. That said, if we came across a situation where it was pretty glaring that for whatever reason, a meaningful number of listings were not going to be part of the broker public portal through a particular MLS, you know, I think, for example, we have a BPP board meeting coming up. We're going to do it simultaneously with CMLS. You know, I think we would craft a solution where you know, the cost structure was altered. But if it's just a minimal amount, I would say that we wouldn't alter any pricing. But if for some reason there's a glaring omission, and hopefully there wouldn't be again because of the industry favorable rules, you know, we will consider that. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you, Steve. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Lauren, thank you.
Yeah, we have some questions coming in that one is, if an MLS already had Homesnap Pro, what is the transition process and or pricing to sign up with BPP?
Steve, you want to touch that?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So we have, you know, had quite a number of legacy clients and still do, which is one of the reasons we were chosen, because the industry knew us well. They knew we followed fair display guidelines. They knew our product well, and we had, certainly some very happy MLS customers. So, the deal with the joint venture, meaning what we decided is that, those entities have the benefit of a contract currently, and will operate under those contracts, but not get the new benefits of the BPP that I described, because there are several valuable new benefits which were outlined in that list of benefits for MLS brokers and agents. Will not, until they transition, either before the end of the contract they can switch over, or at the end of the contract, they can look at switching over. So that is how that's going to be handled. But anyone new that is coming on comes on under the BPP. So all those people, for example, that were on that slide since the first of the year, they're coming on board. They'd come on board as BPP participants, and anyone new from this point forward can only do it as part of the BPP. So the idea is Homesnap is the BPP brand. It's not the idea, it's the fact. All new clients, new customers, new MLSs are what I described. BPP with those benefits, legacy, have existing contracts, and they'll transition over. They can do it now, or towards the end of their contract, they can look at transitioning over as well.
And could you go into, several are asking about marketing and advertising plans for BPP. Is that left up, is that a, and I should probably rewind and clarify. Stephanie already mentioned that she's in the, I would say, active consideration vetting process. Is that a fair way to assess that, Stephanie?
Yes, Lauren, absolutely.
And Iris was one of the charter members of BPP, but we have not implemented it here, and it isn't under active consideration, and it's just not, it's not because we have anything against it, it's because we have other things on our plate. But so we're kind of on the hold button, and I just think it's fair to mention that. But back to marketing and advertising, is that something that is shared between the MLS and Homesnap, or is it, how does that work?
Sure. Good question. This is one that gets asked quite a bit, and it's sort of, wrapped into sometimes, well, how is it ever going to compete nationally with these big brands, and how are we going to get the word out? So there are a number of practical things that are built in that will drive engagement with the brand, and there are a number of things that will happen in the marketplace by virtue of being a national brand that is pretty predictable. So on a practical level, I went over that dollar, and half of that dollar is controlled by the joint venture, and a part of that will be earmarked for advertising and marketing. What that likely means is that it'll be used to support products, materials, and the like for MLSs that join the BPP, so that they have all the necessary tools to promote it in their marketplace and in the various things that they do. We already, as Homesnap, have a playbook that's been successful in most MLSs, where we deliver marketing collateral, we do webinars, we do training, we do presentations, all sorts of things. So those are sort of the nuts and bolts in the short term, what we have done and been successful with. But the BPP, being a unique industry initiative, has some advantages that will propel it to the next level. One I've talked about already is that agents are inviting their clients and customers in significant amounts into the Homesnap BPP platform. They're not going to ever do that with other brands for the reasons we talked about. Collectively, so far, we've had almost 10 million invitations sent out by agents to consumers. And at the core of that is we are a trusted brand that is going to support them. The other thing,
So, Let me ask a really silly question, and it's one of the reasons that I wanted to make it clear that we are not signed up yet. So pardon my ignorance, but hopefully I'm answering questions for others on the call. So would it be a true statement that we should not anticipate a national campaign that promotes Homesnap? Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think it's a fair statement in the short term. And what I was going to finish by saying was, if you look at all the large portals, what they have in common is a national footprint anchored by public records data. And that's very important. It's something that, you know, virtually no local MLS or broker has. And it gives you substantial advantages with SEO, with Google, with national magazines and publications that cover this industry. You'd be surprised how significant that is. And I think most of you probably remember that whether it's Zillow or Trulia or Redfin, none of them for a very long time did any national advertising. Redfin only recently, in the last year, has dedicated, for example, any resources of significance to you know, marketing on a national level. So it's something down the road that we will look at as that money builds up, that 50 cents that goes into the JV. But our advantages are significant enough where we will be a national brand in short order once we have the footprint of the national data. I mean, we're already creeping up. I think the most recent Hitwise had us at 13, but you will see a dramatic jump in the next 12 months, independent of a national marketing campaign.
Another question for you guys.
Just to embellish, if I might, is that probably a good pretense for our phone call today is, you know, I think of Wayne Gretzky, and he always said that he never skated to where the puck is, he skated to where the puck is going to be. And I really feel that's the situation with the broker public portal Homesnap. Technology is changing so rapidly that when we started talking with Homesnap, they had an incredible wish list of what they wanted to do, what they wanted to develop, and us being able to deliver the 750,000 agents, and then we don't plan on stopping at 750,000. We see 1 million agents using this product. I think you're going to see this just develop on an annual basis, continuing to pick up momentum.
Another question for you is, and I should probably interject here because we're at roughly 2:15 and only have 15 minutes left, and whatever questions are not answered, we plan to forward to BPP for response, and then we can post that on our website as well. But let's keep hacking away at them. Another question was, what kind of relationship, if any, do you have to Upstream?
Yeah, I'll answer that quickly. This is Steve. We have no relationship at all. You know, I think there are some people that support both. There was some overlap on board members at Broker Public Portal LLC and those behind Upstream, but there is no relation whatsoever. This is a product that is designed to be, you know, in partnership, actual agreements with individual MLSs to get MLS data to power a national portal.
And let me just add to that as well. And this is a perspective as a large broker. We were supportive of Upstream. And the whole pretense of Upstream is when a broker lists a house at 2 o'clock, he takes it back to his office, he declares ownership, and then he decides who he wants it sent to. And as the business rules of all of these portals change, as the pricing strategies change for enhanced listings, I think the brokers may have choices in the future, and we think it's a huge compliment to the broker portal project that the Upstream is going to give the broker that option to declare ownership and then decide where it gets sent.
Makes sense. Stephanie, did you have any other questions from your perspective? There are still some that are coming in, but I don't want to ignore you.
No, that's fine, Lauren. I do. Either Merle or Steve, if you could answer this as well. My leadership was like, well, this is Broker Public Portal, but then this is an app, and are we buying just another app, or what are we doing? Because it seemed to me when they were doing their research that there was no website per se for Broker Public Portal. Everything's within the HomeSnap. So how does that work into everything when you're promoting? Is it just the promotion of the homesnap.com website, or will the Broker Public Portal actually have a new face look to this?
Yeah, great question. So homesnap.com is the brand of the BPP. So we've licensed our domain, our technology to the BPP effectively. So when an MLS signs up for the BPP, they're getting, their listings then will be put into HomeSnap, which is, again, the Broker Public Portal. So that is the brand that the portal has decided to use, and that is where the governance comes in. That will always have fair display guidelines. Also, part of what the MLS signs up for is the app, HomeSnap Pro, for their agents. The thought was, there are many thoughts, but the thought was that having a portal not connected to the agents is not as valuable. And it just so happened that we had the best agent app in the business, and so that's what makes the brand and the platform so valuable, and that consumers can go to homesnap.com, they can go to the HomeSnap app, and when they make inquiries on properties, it can go right to those agents. The agent doesn't have to be using HomeSnap Pro, but if they have downloaded and are using HomeSnap Pro, it's remarkable how the tools that we've created for agents to reply quickly and intelligently back to that inquiry. And of course, the agent can use HomeSnap Pro for their own uses, independent of anything that's happening on the public portal. It has all the agent-only data on it. So, yeah, the MLS shouldn't look at us separately. It is one offering. It includes the portal for consumers as well as a professional app for all the subscribers in the MLS.
And Steve, if I could just add to that for a second. I talked about change. When we started this, broker of multiple listing executives and brokers got together, about 30% of the searches were mobile. By the time we were seriously talking to HomeSnap, that number had grown over 75% of the HomeSnaps were mobile. So like any business, the focus in the short term was making sure that that mobile app was incredible. But part of our business transaction between the BPP and HomeSnap was we gave them $200,000 at closing with the instruction that that be focused on development of their site. So one of the things that has been really comforting to me, and I think Steve as well, and Guy, and everyone on their team and our team, we have a very clear vision of how this is going to evolve, and I think we also have a clean, consistent sense of priority and where we've got to be putting our time and energy, both in the short term and in the long term.
Another question for you. If a listing is part of BPP, is it viewable only by the subscribers from, or customers, users from that particular MLS, or once you're on the BPP platform, can you see it universally?
Steve?
Yeah, it is universal, meaning when a listing, and that's the benefit of having a national brand. So if a particular MLS participates and supplies listings to the BPP, they will appear on HomeSnap, fair display guidelines, available to any consumer across the country who wants to see them. I think that answers your question, but that is how it works.
And also the local broker, I'm assuming. So I'll pick Omaha and Lincoln, which are two cities, for those of you not aware, in eastern Nebraska. If Omaha has their listings on and Lincoln brokers also have theirs part of the BPP, can the respective brokers, I understand you said the consumers can,
Sure.
but does that also mean that the brokers can also see those respective listings? I think
Yeah.
the answer is yes.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's a great question, and as you might expect, they can see listings as a consumer would in the other market. If they're a member of both MLSs, they obviously can see showing instructions, commission splits, all the secret data. But
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, but they're a consumer everywhere else. So if they're in Omaha and that's their only MLS, they'll see agent-only level of data in their app for Omaha only. And then if they look at Philadelphia listings, they'll see them as a consumer would. And it'll be your listing, your lead. So what they'll see is the listing agent for the property in Philadelphia.
Got it. Could you describe your relationship with Trestle, if any?
Yeah, so no relationship at this point other than we know those guys. I mean, CoreLogic, and we were working with them because they are such a significant vendor in the marketplace. The MLSs that we already work with that are their customers, which is a massive number of them, are pushing both of us, both CoreLogic and Homesnap, to work together. So I think the first thing they want us to work on is integrations between Matrix and Homesnap. But we want to figure out how to work with all the players. We don't have favorites. We're here for the industry. We recognize that depending upon the MLS, they obviously have a different vendor, and we want to work with all of them.
Got it. Another question: how long does it take to onboard an MLS?
Yeah, the short answer is typically about 1 month, 4 to 6 weeks, let's say, because we try to give a period up front, both to plan the marketing and rollout, which we work closely with the MLS to do, but also we want to get a beta version of the products in the hands of the staff at the MLS so they can look at it and be comfortable with it. And then once everyone approves of the product and is comfortable with the rollout, we can do it. But we're pretty good at onboarding all the data at this point. We've done it for close to 100 MLSs already, and so 4 to 6 weeks.
And I would imagine if they're already a Homesnap customer, that could potentially be streamlined, but appreciate the answer.
Yeah, you're correct.
Another question: what other charges or fees will agents or brokers be paying for additional functions? I know you mentioned that there were some upsell options. So what are the other fees that brokers or agents could anticipate?
Sure. So generally speaking, in our joint venture agreement, one of the things that was very important was that if, to the extent in Homesnap Pro there were additional features, they had to be non-exclusive and, again, something everyone could use. So, you should feel good that the BPP LLC and all the people involved, looked at this as, okay, if Homesnap Pro takes off as a product because of this, we want to make sure that any product that's on it is something that everyone can do. It's not just going to be that one broker or one agent can use in the marketplace. So the first product or feature that we have deals with advertising on social media. And because an agent, when they go to Homesnap Pro, they set up a profile, and on Homesnap Pro we have all their information. We'll have their branding, their brokerage branding, their team branding. We also know exactly their transaction history, what they've done, when they do it. And one of the things that agents said to us was, they're having trouble navigating the world of Facebook and Instagram. For example, when they told a seller that they were going to promote their listing on Facebook. How do you do that? Well, from the app, you can do that very easily because we have all the information that's needed. So that's an example of something. That's the first thing that we've offered. And it mirrors what I said, that like it's available to any agent. There isn't just one agent that can do it. And the idea is to leverage all the stuff that's in the app, all the data we have, so it makes it easier for the agent to do things that they might want to do.
Okay.
Could I embellish that as well? I want to make everybody aware that this is the BPP is very open and inclusive. And when we started out, we got a $5,000 membership contribution from about 60 real estate companies and 40 multiple listings. But we want to continue to include more members. And the question is, what is the benefit of me contributing $5,000 to the broker portal? You do become a voting member. You can run for office. And we really want the intellectual power of the individuals and the multiple listings to be representative. We want this board to be a changing, dynamic board as the market changes.
Good info. Another question, can listings get on Homesnap without being in the MLS? So I think another way of phrasing that would be, is your exclusive data source from the MLSs, or could an agent who is part of an MLS that isn't signed up with BPP enter listings manually?
It's the former. The exclusive source of listings is the MLS, now and always.
Good answer. Let's see. Will there be a way for local associations or a local MLS to add other local information which would be helpful to a transferee or other buyer seller?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so as we try to prioritize, what to do, we have decided as a board that the most important thing to focus on is rolling up the national footprint of MLS data as soon as possible. All good things stem from that. And the next phase would be, what other data do we want to integrate? At a local level, we certainly could do that, but when you're dealing with as many entities as we are, we have to figure out a way to efficiently do that without having huge costs or perhaps no costs at all. We're really good at developing products here where we can pull in data. So content could be one of those things on a local basis. So that's one of the things we're wrestling with is how do we phase in things like that? There could be other data sources. Homesnap has a lot of them. We have, property lines. We have, tax records.
Sure.
Yeah. So
a wealth of
just prioritization. Right.
Yep. Sounds like it's a first thing first, which makes sense. Last question, and then I'm going to turn it over to the powers that be to see if we want to go over or not. But when an agent or broker goes inactive from the MLS, are they automatically cut off from access to BPP, or how is that handled, or is it through data updates?
Yeah, so as soon as we know about it from the MLS, through the data that we pull, on a regular basis, many times a day, within 5 minutes, they'd be taken off.
Okay. And Danae or Betsy, do we want to wrap it up here, since my clock says 2:30 in Colorado. So I'm thinking, in the interest of time, we should probably sign off here. And I want to thank all of the panelists and all of the people who have been part of this. And again, the questions that didn't get answered, we will forward to BPP to make sure that you have an answer. And as an aside, away from the BPP topic, but back to CMLS, the white paper that was created by CMLS about the policy statement 7.42, otherwise referred to as the MLS of choice, will be sent out to all of our CMLS members later today. So look for that email, and you are welcome to use that as a discussion foundation with your leadership and however you see fit. I think that wraps it up. Stephanie, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I thank everybody for joining. I see there was probably a lot more questions, so we'll get back to those because I had a couple more as well. But I think that will help people get a deeper understanding of where BPP was and where they're heading. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
We ended up signing up.